Natural childbirth was just starting to come in while I was in Greymouth. We'd learnt a bit through Grantley Dick Reed's book. So I was teaching natural childbirth methods, something I don't know that physios do now. The midwives seem to have taken that one over. So we did the antenatal. We were in theatre with the baby being born, and we did the postnatal work as well. It was very satisfying. It's really nice to hear a new baby arrive. It didn't put me off having my own kids. When I was at Tauranui, there were quite a few people arriving for physiotherapy because they had recovered as much as they possibly could following having had polio in the 1956 epidemic. One of the patients I remember that came to the department quite often was a local doctor who played competitive tennis even though he wasn't feeling too good, and went down with polio and became severely disabled. He had some movement in his right lower leg, he had some movement in his left thumb, he could lift his head and turn it. His wife, who'd been a nurse, cared for him at home. The home was altered so that he could stay at home. He was in a wheelchair. They contacted the local freezing works and they put in the rails that normally the carcasses go spinning around the works in, and the chair, a special chair was put onto the rail so that he could be whizzed around the house, into the bathroom, into the bedroom, into the sitting room, things like that. It's the first time I'd seen a specially built house for such a disabled person. I hope that they did something more about that. It worked really well. He lived for quite a long time, 10, 15 years. He did have to be admitted to a caring place after a while, and it was in another town, so his wife went and lived there too. But I'm 5'3" in height. He was 6'6", and I used to lift him onto the plinth underneath the bed to put him into the slings so that he could move freely. His wife wasn't around there. As I lifted him, his spine got longer and longer, and I'm sure he was about 10 foot long by the time I managed to get him into the chair. But he had a wonderful sense of humour, and he kept working. He used to give lectures to the nurses, the student nurses. He was a real joy to be with. Also from Tauranui, I remember a man who'd been a golf champion who got really quite bad Parkinson's and was one of the first people to have, what's that brain operation? Yeah, well, he was one of the first patients in New Zealand to have that operation. Unfortunately, it left him with a left-sided stroke. Now Sandy, Sandy was also a big man. He weighed 17 stone. And I lifted him back into bed one day in the ward and did my right sacroiliac in. So I was one of the first people in Tauranui to have an injection into the sacroiliac, hydrocortisone injection. To have that, I had to lie face down on the theatre table while the surgeon superintendent very carefully anaesthetised the area with a bit of local and then plunged this fearsome syringe into my right sacroiliac.